swings it. Oh! It's out of here.
And here comes the second run. It's 3-2. 14 hits it hard, deep to right field. Cook going back, it's over his head.
Swing and a miss. Gonna wave Howard around from first. Safe.
The ball game is over and Miami has won the World Series. 1-2. He went around. The ball game is over. The Hurricanes are the champions of the game.
And Miami wins the national championship. Miami Hurricane, national champions.
Hello everybody and welcome to Hurricane Game Day. As we come to you from Alex Rodriguez Park, it's baseball season and the Hurricanes are off to a great start. They're in first place in the ACC and they're ranked 8th in the country as they get ready to go on a very important road trip against the Clemson Tigers. Coming up on the show, we'll hear from University of Miami head coach Jim Morris, assistant coach Gino Damari, and starting left-handed pitcher Eric Erickson. But first, as I mentioned, the Hurricanes are off to a good start going into this weekend series against the Clemson Tigers.
Overall, I thought we've improved. We're finding out some of the things. We've got a couple young guys in the lineup playing well. We still got a lot of work to go in this Clemson weekend, and a lot of the weekends are very, very tough for us. They'll answer a lot of questions.
Well, anytime you're playing on the road now with that RPI, and the RPI just explained that, they're rating your schedule. They're rating the strength of your schedule, who you play, how they do, and they basically, put a formula together at the end of the season where they'll have the teams listed just like the rankings do of the RPI. In Miami, for instance, last year just missed out on a couple points of hosting a regional. When you play on the road now, they look at that more as more of a benefit to win on the road than say at home. And certainly playing at Clemson's got to be one of the toughest places we'll play all year long. Other than maybe outside of FSU, Clemson's atmosphere there on the road is as tough as anywhere.
For the players, performing here at home at Alex Rodriguez Park is always exciting, but going on the road is a thrilling experience as well.
It's going to be a great atmosphere up there in Clemson. It always is, and we've got we're looking at a good potential win streak here going into Clemson. We really hope to sweep them. It's just going to be a great weekend, good competition going on.
This series is huge. This is I would consider the first big ACC test that we've had. I mean, they're struggling a little bit, but they were ranked early in the season. We know they got a really good squad.
Well, first of all, it's important because ACC standing-wise, we're half a game up on UNC, so this road trip to Clemson will be a really good push for us in the ACC.
Still to come here on Hurricane Game Day, we'll hear from University of Miami head coach Jim Morris. Gino Damari breaks down the Hurricanators, and Eric Erickson talks about his comeback. All of that and more right here on Hurricane Game Day on CSS.
The toughest part's coming up now with Clemson and North Carolina, Virginia, and a lot of the schools on our schedule are very, very tough. So it's a great conference, and every week's a new challenge.
Well, the verbal commitment is, it's funny how that word or that is defined differently in sports. In basketball and football, kids commit and they bounce around schools all the time. To be honest, in baseball, when a kid verbally commits, you have the kid stick with that commitment.
Hurricane Game Day is brought to you by the Florida Fan Game. Think the Canes are Florida's #1 fans? Prove it at facebook.com/share a little sunshine. Welcome back to Hurricane Game Day here on CSS. Joe Zagacki here with University of Miami head coach Jim Morris. Well, coach, you're off to a great start this year, winners of 19 of the first 24 out of the box, so think you'd be satisfied with the start to University of Miami baseball this year.
Well, I am, but you're as good as your last game, I guess. So, we need to, our last game we didn't win and we didn't play well, but up to that time we played pretty well. Our defense has been pretty good. We've been pitching good and we've been scoring a few runs enough to win, and our hitting is getting better. So it's a combination of all those things that we got to get together by the end of the season.
The shift in college baseball over the last year and a half has been toward pitching, and your rotation has been pretty solid for you, not only last year but also at the beginning of this season.
Well, you're right. A big thing that we got was getting Eric Erickson back in the rotation and getting that 6th year from having 2 arm surgeries, and he's pitched on Friday nights and done a very good job there, along with Whaley and Ewing now on Sundays, and B-Rad has been moved to Wednesdays. So we feel good about our rotation. We feel like that on any given day those guys can beat anyone.
Eric Erickson, you mentioned the extra year, and he brings so much maturity to the staff and also an understanding of University of Miami baseball tradition. How important are those things?
Well, that's important. He's the one guy on the team that's pitched in the College World Series. He knows what it takes to win. He understands what you do on the field and off the field, and having that type of leadership is something that is very, very important.
Eric Whaley for you has been consistent for the last 2 years. He's been plugged in as that Saturday starter, and he's almost been as consistent as the sun rising.
Well, he has. You know you're going to get a solid outing from him. He's going to do little things and hold runners and do all the things it takes to win and throw strikes. He's normally not going to beat himself, so you're going to have to beat him. And, he's a guy that pitches at 90 and does a good job with a breaking ball. And he does all the little things, fills his position, holds runners, does those type things. So I always feel like when he scores, goes out there to pitch, you got a chance to win.
You mentioned Stephen Ewing, and he was your midweek starter, and you flip-flopped him here at this point of the year. Is that a case where there's a guy that earned another job?
Well, he's got the lowest ERA, if I'm not mistaken, of our starters, so he's pitched very well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does with ACC teams now. Can he beat those teams? Because normally our ACC teams are better than our midweek conference teams as a general rule.
One of the big additions to your club this year is behind the plate, the catcher, Peter O'Brien. He's been very good for you, hasn't he?
He has. Again, Pete's a senior, so he's been around for a while, and he's a guy that I think commands respect from the day he walks in because of how hard he works and the tools he has as a player. He really hasn't been catching that long, only since his senior year of high school. So he's still learning, how to catch, but he can hit and he can throw, and he's worked very, very hard and having a great year for us.
The middle of your lineup, you've got Carey in there and O'Brien and Ronnie Rodriguez. You have some pretty good threats this year in terms of being able to hit the baseball.
Well, we do. We got guys who return, and as you said, that's played a lot. So that's Fieger and is in that mix too, along with Carey and O'Brien's played, but not played here. So all those guys got a lot of at-bats in college, and I think that's something that's important. That the adjustment should be easier for them from one week to the next, and from one pitcher to the next.
You've always had a closer, and this year you gave the ball to E.J. Encinosa. How is that working out for you?
Well, I think he's good. He's just secrets, throw the ball over the plate. He's got great stuff. He's got great sink, live fastball, a good slider to go with it. And on a given day, he's very, very tough to hit.
You've won 7 of the first 9 in the ACC. So right now you're in first place. Got a big series coming up with Clemson, which we'll talk about. But the beginning of the ACC schedule, you're satisfied?
Well, I am. I felt like we should have probably won 8 out of 9. So. But we didn't play well enough that one game. I felt like we beat ourselves defensively. The toughest part's coming up now with Clemson and North Carolina and Virginia, and a lot of the schools on our schedule are very, very tough. So it's a great conference, and every week's a new challenge. 4
teams out of the ACC right now ranked in the top 20.
Yeah, well, you're right, and there always are. There are always 4 or 5, teams in that top 20 or top 10, and of course North Carolina's right up there, Florida State's right up there. We're currently ranked 8, and our RPI is 8. I get our academic and baseball mixed up there. APR is actually better than our RPI, which is 8th in the country. But the fact is that all those things are important, and that gives you an opportunity to play teams that are outstanding, that are ranked really high, that have good RPIs, that if you play those people and beat them, then you can move up even more. And I think that's a great challenge for us. It shows you what you need to do against really, really good people, maybe that are not answered in the same way against teams that are not as quality.
This weekend it's Clemson. They're a 500 ball club. But it's still early. They always seem to play well at the end of the year, and for sure, they play well in their ballpark.
Well, they do. I mean, Clemson's a tough place to play. You know, it'll be packed, and there'll be a lot of people screaming at us and hollering. And it's a place where you got to really, guys got to learn how to focus and not listen to the crowd and be ready to play the game. And it's a great atmosphere to play in, no question about that. It gets you ready for anywhere you go.
I was going to say, games like this do get you ready for the postseason, right?
Absolutely. I mean, these games you're going to see good pitching, and every week now we're going to see good pitching against us. And those are the ACC gets you ready for the NCAA tournament, but this weekend in particular, the crowd too is definitely in the mix as far as getting you ready.
Do you feel like you are zeroing in on a consistent lineup, or is it? I guess with you, the jobs are still always up for grabs, right?
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want a guy to feel like he hadn't won a position and he's in there and he's doing it. But, you know, you got to perform. You know, you got to keep getting it done. And our lineup's been pretty set the last 2 weeks. And if we can play solid defense and score runs and win, then, you know, we're going to stay with that just like we did our rotation last year. We didn't change our rotation the entire season.
The RPI just explained that. They're rating your schedule. They're rating the strength of your schedule, who you play, how they do. And they basically, you know, put a formula together at the end of the season where they'll have the teams listed just like the rankings do of the RPI. And Miami, for instance, last year just missed out on a couple points of hosting a regional.
Hurricane Game Day is brought to you by the Florida Fan Game. Think the Canes are Florida's #1 fans? Prove it at facebook.com/ShareALittleSunshine.